are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, I'm happy to report, everybody, that it's Friday, and I am Glenn the Geek coming to you from Ocala, Florida.
I'm Jamie Jennings in Norman, Oklahoma. You're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Friday, September 13th, episode 3519, brought to you today by our friends at Kentucky Performance Products. Good morning, Horse World, and happy Poop Week, brought to you by Poseidon Animal Health.
You've heard of Shark Week. Well, now, there's something even more sinister. Welcome to Horses in the Morning Poop Week. Yeah, an entire week talking about your horse's poop. Buckle up for a slippery ride.
Hey everybody, this is Maggie, and I have a poop story. All of us side saddle ladies had just done the Chicago Thanksgiving parade, and we were back on the highway headed home, and there was some guy tailgating us so close that all I could see was the shadow of his car because he was so close to the back of my trailer, I couldn't see him in either mirror. And I could see Bud's tail a little bit out the window. We had a stock trailer. And all of a sudden, this little red sports car looking go buggy thing goes flying out across 3 lanes of traffic. And his windshield, the whole front of his car was completely splattered with green, runny, icky alfalfa pig. Dude, don't tailgate a horse trailer.
Yes. Don't we all wish that would happen with the tailgaters?
It actually did. That's amazing.
I love that. Well, that's right. It is the last day of Poop Week, and it's been a fun week for me. I've enjoyed this week thoroughly, and I got to gross a few people out with poop stories, and I'm going to gross Jamie out with one later on today.
Can't wait.
This has been my week. I've so enjoyed this week. And we round out Poop Week by Poseidon Animal Health with Kevin Erb, who's going to tell us all about, get this, Jamie, the North American Manure Expo. Yes.
Oh my God, there's something for everybody.
And these people have a sense of humor because I can't wait to read you some of the things that are on their shirts. Longtime friend of the show and maker of the Shake and Fork and Flex and Fork, and my old co-host for the Horse Husbands episode for years, Joseph Berto's still around, and he's going to stop by and give us an update on what's happening in his world. I know a lot of longtime listeners loved Joseph when he was doing the show, and he used to stop by here all the time. He was one of our earliest sponsors, I think, on this show. 14 years ago. And I still have my original Flex and Fork from 14 years ago. Still using it. I used it this morning to clean the paddocks. Not a broken tine in place. And I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about it as I was using it this morning because our paddocks have that stringy grass, that has all the strings in it. And you kind of get underneath it, and that's when you break your tines. And I don't have that problem with this fork. Plus, we have some really bad ads and another round.
Oh, this one, I can't believe you're playing this. So we did a round of English versus German poop style, but
with Anna, her German exchange student.
But here's the problem is I forgot about it and Glenn had requested it. So we did it last night after dinner, and one of the girls made margaritas, and I can't drink tequila. Like, you're going to clearly hear that I can't, but I had forgotten about it until after the margaritas. And so I only had one, but you will hear how it affects me.
I'm going to play the show out with it today because I think it's the perfect end to Poop Week. And yes, you did appear a little intoxicated in this. And the other girls laughing in the background were kind of fearing it.
Yeah, we were all, I don't drink margaritas, and I had one and they had a couple more than I did. And so that is liquid Novocaine for my mouth is what tequila is. And so I do apologize ahead of time. I don't think I swore that was good, but yes, it was.
The only sober one I think was Anna, which her parents would be happy to hear. But yeah, I thought
Chad
that would
came
be
home. He was at a baseball game with Lucas. I didn't even go. They came home and I was asleep by like 9.
so. English versus German poop edition will be how we finish off Poop Week at the end of this. I think
Jamie
it's just
is
perfect.
how we're finishing.
Oh
God, it's embarrassing.
And of course, there'll be no Auditor Post show because Jamie's still doing her clinic thing, and we'll talk about that in just a second as well. But first, some Daily Whinnies. Well, happy birthday to Horse Nation Deanne and auditors Kelly Peterson Hammer, Connor Joseph, and Debbie Payne. Happy birthday to all of you. Have a great weekend. And also, new auditor Nicole. Welcome, and we're so glad you're here. Be sure to search for HRN auditors in the Facebook group and ask to join. I think you'll enjoy it. We appreciate you being part of the family.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I've had this horse in training for almost a month, and he was a very challenging one. His name was Hellraiser. We started calling him Raisin because he's gray and he has all these marks on him, so he looks like a raisin. So Chad named him Raisin, and he left today to go back to Horse and Hound because somebody's coming to look at him this weekend,
Yay.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
you were a little concerned about that horse at the beginning.
Oh yeah, he was really tough. But like now, I mean, I rode him yesterday over pole. He was a mess. He was a mess. He had not had a great existence with people, and so really had a hard time trusting, and just turned around into the sweetest thing, and we got him sorted out. So he's going back, but I'm glad I hope he gets adopted because I kind of wanted to keep him. I kind of like him, but he's weird. So, which is great. So you can't put him in a stall. You can't do anything like that. Like he's a really cool guy. So when the hauler came to pick him up, his name is Steve, and Steve has hauled a bunch of horses for people that are listening to this now because Steve kind of hauls a lot of the Horse and Hound horses. So the girls that are here for the clinic, who you'll hear us later a little intoxicated. The girls came for the clinic and they want to do something kind of different and fun. And so, Glenn, you got to talk me out of this. Tomorrow is the Jones livestock auction. There's horses. So the Jones livestock auction is happening tomorrow. So the hauler comes today and I'm like, hey, Steve, he goes everywhere. Like, have you been to the Jones livestock auction? He goes, oh yeah, I've been there. I go, well, tell me about it. He goes, well, they sell some really nice horses and then you take them home and you find that they've been either beauted or sedated and you have either a cripple horse or a monster. He was like, you might find a fun project. You don't know. But you don't know what they are because they've drugged them or beauted them so much that they're running through that.
Sounds like the New Holland auction.
Yeah. And this is apparently it is the Oklahoma version of the New Holland auction. And these freaking girls want to go. And so we're taking the trailer. Now, I'm not planning on filling the trailer, but you never know. There could be something.
Remember to isolate anything you buy for at least 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, no, we got a little space set up over there, but yeah, so we are going to the Jones livestock auction, and I am deathly afraid of how my emotions could either crumble or I could do stupid stuff. So
I just want to know how many kids are standing up on the backs of horses riding. I need that report.
I will report that. Oh God, it's gonna. And here's the thing is I went to an auction when I lived in Arizona and didn't buy anything and cried all the way home and probably cried for a couple days because it was really hard.
You are not meant for this type of auction. This is not good for you.
But the good news is when I lived in Arizona, I didn't have space or time or money to care for things. But with 20 acres, the possibilities are endless, Glenn. Endless. And so, of course, I sit my husband down and I'm like, okay, well, the girls want to go to this auction, the horse auction tomorrow. And he's like, oh, that sounds fun. You should totally do that. Like, do you
Trying
know
to get
me?
you out of the house.
Do you know me? I know he's going to be on a trip.
Oh.
And he's like, just go have fun, get some, whatever. Like, and it's funny in the house because if I were to bring home a puppy or a cat or a goat, he would freak out. Yet go to the horse auction and buy something crazy or lame. He doesn't care. Like, go for it because it's my business, my money, my thing, and I'm the one who takes care of everything. So he doesn't care. So he is a terrible enabler with horses because he just loves like the whole adventure. So we are going to do that tomorrow, and I will keep you guys posted on what I do or don't do or how I feel about the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm nervous. Glenn, tuck me out of it.
I don't think I can. I can't tuck you out of this. Now, what I could do is call one of the girls that are at the clinic there and say, look, you need to make sure she has no credit card and no wallet and no checkbook. The easiest thing to do would be to go with no trailer. That would be the easiest thing to do.
Well, but then what happens if I find something I got to go all the way home?
No, because you go with no trailer, you don't buy anything. That's the goal.
That's probably a good idea. I will totally
because you're
that
thinking
advice.
because you're thinking, well, it'd be so much hassle to go home and get the trailer and come back.
Yeah. So you don't do it then.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
That's when we went to New Holland with the trailer, we'd buy something. When we went to New Holland without the trailer, we didn't buy anything.
Okay, so Patty
unless your friend there, the hauler's going to be there, and then you're screwed either way.
I know he's not going to be there, but Patty is my neighbor, and she said she wanted to go on these horse adventures with me. But Patty, I don't think you want to be a part of this. So just, I don't know. My problem is old. If they're old, I'm going to buy them. And there are going to be a lot
of old half-dead ones that are going to killers, and you just can't buy them all.
Yeah, but remember, you may not change. See, this is the problem is I've read Black Beauty too many times. And I go into the situation like it's freaking Black Beauty and they have an inner monologue. It's crazy. Okay, then so we're doing
no trailer.
Tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Now, I have to tell you one other thing. Do we have a second? Okay.
Yep, we have a couple minutes.
So Janet, who's here at the clinic, uses an animal psychic a lot. Like so much, she's like actually friends with this animal psychic, it seems like, because she scheduled an appointment to talk to this animal psychic at dinner the other night, 2 nights ago, not when we were tequilaed up. And the weirdest thing happened. Okay. So they talk, The psychic, she had the psychic talk to Bella. Bella is my really old basset hound that I got from Horse and Hound like 5 years ago. And so Bella has a lot of emotional issues.
Bella was the one we raised money because it was so sick.
No, that was Lucky.
No, that was Lucky. Getting them all confused.
That was 2 senior basset hounds ago. Yeah. No, Bella is the one that lives here, but she's decided like she doesn't want to come in the house. I'm really struggling with how I'm going to have winter with her because she won't come in and she's really skinny and she's cold all the time. Anyway, so she was like, we'll have her talk to the psychic. So the psychic is on the phone and has a picture of Bella. And so I have this, you've seen my little Ranger, right? And when I drive my Ranger down to the barn, all the dogs hop on it. Homer jumps on it, and then he jumps on the seat. But sometimes Homer doesn't jump on the seat. And when he does jump on the seat, Bella climbs up and rides on the floorboard of the Ranger. This story has a point, I swear to God. Okay, so Bella jumps on the floor, and Homer gets on the top. Well, sometimes Homer doesn't want to jump all the way up. And I'm just like, Bella, just stay up here. You don't have to come. But she always comes down, but she follows me everywhere. So we're talking to Bella through the psychic. And she's like, well, how is Bella feeling? Oh, well, Bella says, are there other hounds there? I was like, yes, there's just one. Well, Bella says, I swear to God, this happened. It's recorded. Bella says that one hound is mean to her. And I was like, nobody's mean to her. She says that she doesn't get to ride the Polaris and has to walk. You could have knocked me over the feather. I'm like, we need to have this psychic on the show. Good Lord. I'm like, but we don't even call it the Polaris, but it's a Polaris Ranger. And Bella says that Homer sometimes won't let her, and didn't say Homer, but there's another hound who's mean to her and won't let her ride on the Polaris and makes her walk. I'm sorry. What? Yeah, anyway, I just thought I would share that with you.
You were the biggest skeptic, not so skeptical anymore, are you?
What? Like, how would she have known that? She's Jana's friend. Jana hasn't told her anything. She just saw a picture of her and said there's one hound who's mean and won't let her on the Polaris. I'm sorry. I am definitely a skeptic, but I don't know. She got me. She got me with that one. I can't believe that. Anyway, so there was my little fun, exciting fact of the day. So between animal psychics and horse auctions, it's been a hell of a week here at Flyover Farm.
All right, well, we're going to get to Poop Week. We have our first guest coming up in just a minute. His name is Kevin Erb. He's president of the North American Manure Expo. Yes, there is one. I didn't know anything about this. I was so excited when we found it. Actually, Jennifer found this one. So thank you to Jennifer. But before we get to Kentucky Performance Products, I wanted to do the first poop fact of the week. The Tijuana racetrack opened in 1915, and they had an issue of where to put the manure. So they decided... It's a different era. They decided to pile it under the stands.
Oh, God.
Stands in those days were made of wood. Can you guess what happened, Jamie? 10 years later, in 1925, the racetrack experienced a collapse due to the accumulation of horse manure underneath the wooden grandstands. The manure was stored there over time and had not properly been cleared out. Combined with heavy rains, the decomposing waste created structural weakness by rotting the wood, leading the grandstands to collapse during a race. Fortunately, there were no fatalities, but it became a notorious incident in the history of the racetrack.
Oh my gosh. So 25, that's like Seabiscuit time. I wonder if everybody was cheering for Seabiscuit. They're like, go, 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 jumping up and down on the stands and kaboom.
And then the stands collapsed into a huge pile of manure. Well, they probably didn't fall far.
Do you imagine just falling into a vat of poop because of rain?
Things were different back then. Can you imagine the flies? It's Tijuana. It's a little warm, you know? Anyway, Kentucky Performance Products is so proud to sponsor this episode.
This Nutritional Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. One of the most common mistakes seen in feeding programs is the underfeeding of commercial concentrates. Commercial concentrates are textured or pelleted feeds that provide energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals. Some common manufacturers are Triple Crown, Nutrina, Purina. You get the idea. Every commercial feed has a minimum amount you must feed in order to meet a horse's daily vitamin and mineral requirements. For most commercial concentrates, that level is somewhere between 4 to 6 pounds per day. A lot of horses will get too fat consuming feed at that level, so owners and barn managers feed less, and rightly so. It's not healthy for a horse to get too fat. However, if you are feeding less than the recommended minimum amount to your horse, you are not providing your horse with adequate nutrition. Microphase Vitamin and Mineral Supplement from Kentucky Performance Products can solve your problem. Microphase can be added to the diet as needed to fill in the nutritional gaps. Packed with nutrients but low in calories, you can adjust the feeding level of Microphase to meet your horse's requirements. Learn more about Microphase by visiting kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Well, Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Well, glad to be a part of the podcast.
Well, you're the perfect end to Poop Week. We've had a lot of guests on talking about many different poop things. And then when my wife said, hey, look, there's a Manure Expo, I was like, well, that's how we have to end Poop Week. Because who knew there was a Manure Expo? We all deal with manure every day. We're all horse people here. How did the North American Manure Expo start?
Well, I was a manure management educator at the time for University of Wisconsin Extension. worked with the for-hire manure applicators, those businesses that everybody from dairy farms to hog farms to horse farms bring in to either just haul their manure away or to haul it and land apply it to their fields. And a number of those folks wanted to see some of the newer technology in action. We actually had companies that 20-some years ago were putting GPS and precision technology on manure applicators, and they brought the technology out to Wisconsin at the busiest time of spring. And so the applicators said, can we see this in action when we have time to actually kick the tires, look at it? We talked to some of the farm shows, and they said, no, we don't want to smell up the grounds. We don't want to do manure. And so we said, okay. So we sent out invitations to manure applicators in the Midwest. We sent out letters to the companies that build the equipment and said, if you want a chance to show up, show off what it can do, how far it can spread, how even the pattern is, here's the date. And 20 different companies showed up that morning with their equipment, and 435 farmers and manure applicators from 5 states in Canada, and did it a couple more times. And then other states said, hey, can we copy this? We said, well, let's just let it rotate around so that it can see new technology every 4 or 5 years in different parts of the country. And that's really how it was born.
And you just did one in July in New York. Was it well attended?
We had over 1,500 folks over
Holy
the 2 days.
cow!
Well, that's one way. I would have said something else, but we're a family podcast.
Yeah.
Here, so.
That's a lot of people talking poop.
It is. And the thing is that, a lot of times I like to be where the entrance is, and I'll have people that will come up because they see the tents in the field or they hear about it, and they're wanting the free T-shirts, the swag, and when they find out it's a manure show, they turn around and leave. And so you think about the typical farm show that you might go to in winter in an arena or one out in the country in summer, and probably 30-40% of the people are just retirees or people looking to see something to do, whereas the only people that show up at Manure Expo are people that create manure or apply manure or haul manure. It's a really neat audience, and we do have a good time talking poop.
And you have a sense of humor, too. I'm going to get to your shirts. But so if it's a poop expo and you're demonstrating how some of this works, do you have farmers nearby that have to haul poop in so you can spread it and show it?
There have been times where we've had to find poop at the last minute. Typically, we try to be on a farm that has manure storage on site and fields right next to it so we can show that agitation or removal process for the liquid manure so that we can demonstrate the different types of spreaders and the technology right on the site. But there have been times where we're at a county fairgrounds. In fact, next year in Ohio, it's actually going to be at the Fulton County Fairgrounds. And we're going to actually be bringing in solid manure. We're going to be probably taking people to a farm that has liquid manure. Yeah, I pity the people that have to clean the school buses after our group has been on them.
It's funny.
Just the term liquid manure, that doesn't sound healthy.
That's the stinkiest stuff
cow,
ever,
right?
too.
Yeah, your swine manure, we think about horse manure. We're heavily bedded a lot of times. It's a different consistency, whereas we look at like dairy cows, what's coming out of the animal is 88% water. And so when you've got something that's that much water, efficiency-wise, a lot of times it's more efficient to pump it as a liquid, particularly as the regulations have come down and said, if rainwater touches feed storage or areas where animals are, that has to be contained. And so rather than dealing with both liquid and solid, a lot of our dairy operations in the eastern part of the U.S. have gone to liquid systems. You get out in Colorado and the areas where it's drier, and it's easier to manage manure as a solid because you've got a lot more evaporation each year than precipitation.
So one of the arguments we've had on this show for a long time is which of the animals' manure is the smelliest? And, chicken, pig, cow, horse. Because we're all horse people, we think the horse poop is the least smelliest. And I always went with chickens being the most smelliest because the one farm we owned, it was beside a chicken farm, and I just thought that was the smelliest. Is there a determination of which is the smelliest?
Well, a lot of it has to do with how that manure is actually managed, because if we're managing manure using an oxygen-based or aerobic system, like we see composting or forced aeration, the bacteria that are naturally eating that manure, breaking it down, are giving off carbon dioxide and water vapor. Basically the same thing you and I are breathing out right now. Whereas the more water that's there, it turns anaerobic, which means you don't have oxygen. You get a different type of bacteria, and those bacteria tend to produce methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and some of our more smelly compounds. But a lot of it has to do, too, with what you actually feed the animal. And so some of our beef operations have switched over to feeding byproducts from the ethanol plants, and that has a higher level of sulfur. And so the bacteria that break down that manure give off more hydrogen sulfide gas than if they were eating something else. So
he's not going to answer, Jamie. That's what I'm hearing. No. He's not going to answer me.
Well, actually, no, because the answer is it depends. It's sort of like politics. Who won the debate? Well, it depends on your view of things. Same thing with manure. It's whatever the neighbor has stinks worse than what you have.
That's true. That's why the chicken manure, I think, still stink worse than ours. I'm going with that. I'm still sticking with chickens. So you guys, you sent me this morning, had me cracking up. This is right up our alley. You do shirts every year. Talk about your shirts.
Right. So each year we pick an educational theme for the Manure Expo. And when we were in Pennsylvania probably 8-9 years ago, we started cracking jokes just like we're doing today. You know, what could we say is a rejected slogan? And that turned into an annual social media contest where we'll have anywhere from 400 to 900 different slogans submitted each year. And what we feel are the top 50, we will winnow down and give folks a chance to vote then on what they feel are the top 10. So we get suggestions from all over the U.S. and actually Europe about what should be the most rejected slogans for a Manure Expo.
Like 2017, let me read some of these. Where no one stands behind the product. Pretty good. Nobody sticks their nose in our business. Rated M for the manure. You name the species, we've got the feces. Nature called. It wants its nutrients back. Our grass is always greener. I love this one too. The incredible spreadable. Crappiest expo ever. That had to be my favorite one, by the way. You should have had that on a banner by the highway.
Well, coming out of the COVID pandemic, I think the top one in the voting by far was a super spreader event.
I like that one too. That's pretty...
I like that one. Super spreader event.
From the backside to the countryside. Some of these are great. I love the sense of humor here. You guys know why you're there. I mean, it's educational, but also we all realize that we're dealing with poop, and we have to deal with it every day, all day. It's the reason we have a poop week. And I love the fact that you have a Manure Expo.
Yep, and if you wanted to relocate and broadcast the podcast live for the Manure Expo next year, we can definitely make that happen.
Where's it at next year? Because I think this is something right up our alley.
Next year, we're actually in Fulton County, Ohio, and in 2026, we're out in Nebraska. We usually pick a date in a general location a year or two in advance, but sometimes we have to tweak based on weather conditions and other things, and so folks can keep an eye on that ManureExpo.com website and kind of see where things are at. But our Manure Expo Facebook page is where you'll see photos of past events and photos of some of these T-shirts as well.
Well, Nebraska's not too far from you, Jamie. That's kind of it between us. We can meet Nebraska in 2026.
Sounds good.
Well, you were great. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us, and congratulations on filling a need.
Well, it's been really interesting because we learn a lot ourselves. I mean, you have people that build things in their shop to solve a particular problem. They like to come out, they like to show it off. And this past year's expo in New York was really interesting because one of the host farm's neighbors has an old horse-drawn manure spreader, and they worked the deal with the host farm and said, well, can we enter? Well, yeah, no problem. So our final entry in the solid spreader category during the field demos is actually a 2 horsepower horse-drawn spreader.
Did they win?
But I got the biggest rave reviews from the audience. It was really interesting to see some of that older technology, how things have changed, but how effective stuff from 50, 60 years ago actually was.
No GPS back then. They didn't need it. The horses
Definitely
knew where they were
not.
going. Well, Kevin, thanks a bunch. I appreciate it. It's manureexpo.ca, right?
ManureExpo.ca or .com, either one works. And thanks for putting me at the end of Poop Week.
You're very welcome.
Bye, Kevin.
And the end is the business end. So thank you very much.
See ya. Thanks. I love him.
I
Who
like
knew?
him. Make manure great again.
Well, speaking of products to move manure, one of the best one in the world, we're coming up with Joseph in a minute here to talk about the Flex and Fork and the Shake and Fork. But first, we have to hear from Dr. Aaron Roddy, head veterinarian of Poseidon Animal Health, with our poop nugget of the day.
Is your horse dealing with loose or smelly manure? It could be a sign of hindgut acidosis, a serious issue where the pH in the hindgut becomes too acidic. This condition often results from too much starch and sugar spilling over to the hindgut, where it leads to an overgrowth of lactic acid-producing bacteria, aka the bad guys. The result? A compromised gut wall, dead fiber-fermenting bacteria, aka the good guys, and an overall decline in your horse's health. But there's a solution. Poseidon Animal Health's Digestive HP. This advanced gut health supplement is scientifically designed to help manage hindgut acidosis and restore microbial balance. How does it work? Digestive HP offers dual pH buffering with red marine algae and magnesium hydroxide, raising the pH throughout the entire GI tract. It also includes digestive enzymes to ensure starch is fully digested in the small intestine, preventing it from spilling over into the hindgut where it could cause acidosis. The real game changer? Digestive HP's pre- and postbiotic blend. Prebiotics feed the good bacteria, while postbiotics create an optimal environment for these beneficial microbes to thrive, keeping harmful bacteria at bay. This comprehensive formula enhances the diversity and robustness of the microbiome, protecting against acidosis and dysbiosis. The result? A healthy hindgut and improved manure quality. To learn more about Poseidon Animal Health and how Digestive HP can benefit your horse, visit PoseidonAnimalHealth.com today.
Welcome to Poop Week.
Well, coming back to the show, longtime listeners will remember Joseph from EquityMFG.com, one of our earliest sponsors here on the show like 14 years ago, and the guy with the best manure forks in the world. Joseph, it's so good to hear your voice again.
Yeah, I'm so relieved to be back here again, and it's only appropriate that, well, now it's manurefork.com, but we're bringing up the rear of Poop Week, and I really appreciate that.
You're the last guest on Poop Week. I couldn't think of anybody better.
Yeah, we're the tail end of the show, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, manurefork.com is the site now. That's great. I love that. So I was saying, and I'm sure Jamie's the same case, when you started advertising with us, which had to be 12, 13 years ago, you sent us both a Flex and Fork. And we'll describe for new listeners what that is. But you sent us a Flex and Fork, and I used it this morning, that same Flex and Fork, the same handle, the same tines, the same everything. I'm still using it 12, 13 years later, and there's not another fork in the world you can say that about.
You told me back then that I had a horrible business plan because once you bought one, you didn't have to buy another. And I said, well, there's 3 million horses out there, and I only need to sell a small percentage. But, mostly you were right, is that when you make those forks have lasted 20 years in some cases. I think the patent is like 18 years old now. And yeah, they're extraordinarily long lasting.
All right. I got to tell you, when Chad was in Korea, stationed in Korea, there was a tailor that they all the guys went to and had things made like costumes or outfits or, weird fighter pilot celebration stuff. And when you open, he still has one of the jackets. And when you opened, it was Mr. Kim, and his slogan on the inside of every piece of clothing that he made was, "Look too good, last too long." And I always think of that with your business, like look too good, last too long.
we should have said takes a licking and keeps on picking.
Oh, that's
that
perfect.
clever.
You need a shirt with that on it.
I know the stuff you think of too late.
Well, the question of the day is, are you still selling these things?
Yeah, we do, Glenn. We have the new website. It's rather than being conflated with our filters and the fencing products, we just have manurefork.com, and you can get there. The price has gone up significantly, mostly because of the cost of shipping. But the 3-packs, surprisingly, are still individual forks, but you buy them in a 3-pack, are not a whole lot more than they were even 10 years ago. So you can still get a relatively good value compared to forks that last you a day or a week or a month.
I'm telling you, I mean, what other fork could I have bought for $100 back then and it'd still be around today? I mean, there's just, there aren't any.
Well, and they feel different. The problem is that you can buy a cheaper fork, but once you've used a Flexen fork, which it's called a Flexen fork because the head actually flexes. So as you go to slide it underneath a pile of manure, instead of needing to move the handle up and down, you just sort of push it down and forward, and the head flexes, and it just slides or glides right underneath the manure. And once you go to a rigid fork after that, it keeps on catching on the ground and catching on the grass. And Flexen forks, they just have an ergonomic feel that once you've used them, it's very hard to go back to a regular fork. And it's the flex feature that keeps the tines from breaking. So it's not the plastic. It's not a lot of things that people think it is. It's actually the flex. It's like having a shock absorber on the end of your manure fork.
It is all I have in my barn. That's for darn sure. And, I remember in Arizona, I only had one, and the kids would go out and clean my pasture. That was back in the day where I only had one. Now I've got 4. But the kids would go out in the pasture and clean the pasture with me. And I'm like, no, you're too young to use that. You have to use the other one.
You have to pay your dues.
You got to pay your dues to be able to use
with the crappy fork.
The crappy forks. We call them the Southern forks because they were all missing a tooth or two.
Nice fork.
This is perfect Friday show. I remember when we went and did the backstage tour at Animal Kingdom. And we're at the backstage tour at Animal Kingdom, and they have the big barns there for all of the, the giraffes and the hippopotamuses and all that stuff. And we're going, and I'm seeing all these yellow-handled and blue-handled forks, and I'm going, they use Flexen forks at Animal Kingdom, and sure enough, they did.
Yes, it's a best kept secret. So many training barns, the reiners, so many people use these in big operations because they get tired of the pile of forks. And we have pictures of piles and piles of broken forks. And they buy ours, they buy a 3-pack, and then we don't hear from them a couple years later, and then we'll get another 3-pack order. It's really remarkable. And now with the carbon fiber poles, which aren't blue, they're black, but they're so lightweight that it's almost effortless to be able to use them.
I have one of those, and yes, I will not let the children use those. I'm like, I'm sure you now have to suffer with the blue handle ones. I get the carbon fiber because Joseph was kind enough to put my name on it. So he customized it for me. So that's mine. Has my name on it. Give it to me. Come here.
And the price of carbon fiber has come down. And so we sell a lot more carbon fibers. In fact, when we finally run out of the last fiberglass version poles, they'll only be carbon fiber after that. When somebody's buying, a really high quality fork, you might as well just sell the best one and then go from there.
I want to tell people though, because this is something that we've been honest about since 14 years ago, is you're going to go there and you're going to look at the price and you're going to bulk. And I'm telling you, don't bulk. This thing will last you frickin' forever. We're still using our original ones. I mean, you're going to buy 10 of the others and you could have just had one.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because that's a quote that we use, is this thing lasts frickin' forever. And
it does.
My favorite Horses in the Morning.
It does. It lasts frickin' forever. Now, are you selling any more of the shaken forks? Because I love that thing as a horse husband.
Oh, so nice.
The shaken fork is the ugly stepchild. It's the reason that the Flexen fork was invented. I actually developed the Flexen fork so that I could do durability testing on the shaken fork because we really needed to have people do their worst. Whereas when you're running a shake and fork, you're almost always inside of stalls, which is pretty easy on forks. But when you're doing flex and forks, you're outside a lot. You're in the rocks and you're in the cold and you're in the fencing and all that. So it's very, very hard on forks. And so that's why the flex and forks was developed, and it was supposed to only be a temporary deal. So the answer is yes, we are still making the shake and forks. They are very expensive, and we stopped making them for a year because I was concerned they weren't a good value. But I got so many calls from people, especially as the people over 10 or 15 years of age, and the cost of owning horses and having people do the work for you has gone up. Many horse owners now clean their own stalls. They have 3 or 4 horses. Well, if you're 65 and you're out there and you've got some arthritis or you've got hip problems or whatever, you're simply not capable of physically shaking a fork anymore. It's just too hard on your body. And so they bought a shake and fork 10 years ago, and finally the batteries have worn out or the motors wore out or whatever, and they couldn't buy another one. And I got so many calls where people said, if you don't reproduce those shake and forks, we're going to sell our horses. We're going to have to get out of the business because we can no longer hire people to clean our stalls, and the cost of bedding has gotten so high that we can't afford to throw away, $9 a day worth of bedding. And so we finally went back into business, but all the components have just gone up. As you know, the electronics have gone up and labor's gone up and everything's gone up. So the shake and fork is now kind of it's an expensive item, but if you need it, you need it. And that's why we make them. And as long as we still have electronic components, we're going to continue to build them.
And it saves us so much in bedding. I mean, you scoop it up and you don't have to sift. You just pull the trigger and it goes, and all the good bedding falls out, and then you're left with the poop. It is, I love mine. I just love mine. And we use that like really fine shavings, and it is, there's different heads for the different forks that you can program. You can kind of put the smaller head, the one that has like the finer, closer together tines. Yeah. Yep. And it is awesome. I mean, it is definitely a treat yourself kind of item.
Well, and that battery lasted a lot longer than any of my phone batteries has lasted. Yeah. I can tell you that. I don't know what battery you use, but it's still going. So it amazes me. We have shake and forks around our place, and obviously we have flex and forks because of all of our outdoor stalls. And I get lazy sometimes when I'm cleaning, and I'll just grab a flex and fork, and I don't even last a stall. Because I don't like to work that hard to clean it. I just like to stick it underneath and squeeze the trigger, and it's just almost magical the way that it works. Like Jamie says, and all you have is poop left. And the stalls are so much cleaner when you use a shake and fork because you go and you pick every scintilla, every little tiny bit of poop. And so, it's a horse husband's dream, Joseph. It really is. It's a horse husband's dream. Yeah.
There's not enough horse husbands out there, though, so we've got to also make it be the horse girls, the horse wives.
I love the new website, manurefork.com. The new website's terrific. Yeah.
And so, speaking to the point, I've been listening to the show the last couple of days, and we were talking about composting. And we had 18 horses at one point, and it's astonishing how fast your manure pile builds up. I mean, when you just have a few or 3 or something like that, it's not so bad. But prior to the manure fork, we were doing like semi-truckloads of manure and shavings. And that was part of the problem is no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get people to spend the time to separate the shavings from the manure. And so I know that the ratio is 2/3 when you're trying to make compost. It's 2/3 of manure and then 1/3 of what they call brown. And that's supposed to give you a mix that'll compost. But that's not what happens when you're in a horse stall. It's very much the other way around, or even more, where you have 3/4 of it is going to be bedding and the occasional little manure ball floating around inside there. And so what you wind up with is a mixture that literally won't compost. And even if it will compost, you wind up with something that the pH is wildly out of balance. And I'm not really a mathematician here, but I'll give you kind of some numbers that we discovered. Is that manure is pretty it's pretty alkaline, which means that it has a pH that can be anywhere from 7 to like 8, 9, or 10. And shavings is pretty acidic, so it has a pH of like 4. And when you combine them together, you have something that's like at 4.5. Well, the problem is that at 4.5, the pH is so far off that even if it does become compost, the roots of the plants won't absorb it because the pH is way too basic. And so to fix that, you have to put lime on it. And lime allows the nutrients to enter the roots of the plant. But with a shake and fork, your mixture becomes a lot closer to having a 6 pH, especially when you combine the urea from the pea in there, right? Because urea is really acidic, and so you can have a compost mixture that, for one, it's going to be a third the size, maybe even less, and for two, it will actually turn into something that, whether you use the tarp method or the wet method or spend a lot of time with it, whatever, it's going to be a lot closer to something that your plants are actually going to be able to absorb. And when I first started out with the horses, I would take the manure and I'd put it out on a field because that's what we see everybody with cows doing, and it would just kill everything. And you would have nothing that would grow. And more to the point, even if you got something to grow, hay that's grown on a manure field, horses won't eat it. And so you wind up with a bunch of hay that's no good. But when we finally got the stuff balanced, yeah, it was just like putting urea. It was just like putting good fertilizer, into the ground. And so just to be aware, there's a lot of regional things with how to make your compost pile. I found if you don't turn it, the center gets really hot, and all of the seeds and everything that's in there gets neutralized. But the top of it, that would be right underneath the tarp or what's exposed to the air, and all around the edges of it, you're still going to have just straight manure. And that manure is full of all the seeds of the stuff the horses like to eat, like chicory or the different weeds, dandelions and everything else. And so your fields or your garden just get full of weeds, even though you thought you composted it. So if you turn it, then that takes all the edges and puts it into the middle. And then I agree kind of with the point that if you can leave it for a couple of years, that's the way to just make the very, very best compost. And I love this stuff. I mean, you have an endless amount of it, and do it right, and you got great soil. And it's an amendment. You can't grow anything in manure, but it's fantastic to amend, especially.
Now you can grow mushrooms, but that's the only thing.
Yep, that's right. And
Joseph,
so it's really valuable. Go ahead.
When I was a kid, I did not imagine that when I was 62 years old, I was going to be finishing up a week with the word urea on the air. I really didn't. I'm not sure that was in my wildest dreams. It is manurefork.com. Joseph, thank you. It's been so good to talk to you again. And you guys, just go buy them. If you don't have one already, just go buy them. You will not regret it.
And we're a small business, and believe it or not, either Diana or I still answer the phone in person. So we're really easy to find. And give us a call. I'm not going to spell it, but manurefork.com.
Bienvenue à la semaine de caca.
Did you know that 90% of parasites in horses come from the environment they're exposed to every day? While eliminating parasites from their environment may be difficult, protecting your horse against parasites with trusted equine dewormers from Valley Vet Supply is easy. At valleyvet.com, you can find gold standard parasite control solutions perfectly timed for your horse's fall deworming needs. Founded by veterinarians in 1985, Valley Vet offers fast, same-day shipping and exceptional value. Equestrians love shopping at valleyvet.com because it's their one-stop shop for their horse's needs. You too can simplify your shopping experience at valleyvet.com, your one-stop shop for dewormers, prescription medications, vaccines, tack, barn supplies, and so much more. Enjoy fast and free shipping on most orders today at valleyvet.com.
I'm so excited to have them on board. It's one of my earliest memories. The catalog I remember first when I met Jennifer.
Such a good catalog.
Back in the 1980s was the Valley Vet catalog.
That's so cool.
That's the one I remember. Well, I'm going to do an interview with them next week. I'm so excited to have them aboard. And welcome aboard, Valley Vet. So our recipe of the week, we didn't get to do one. I do have one.
I don't think that this is a good idea. A recipe on Poop Week. What are you doing?
Well, this is one for you, Jamie. First of all, if you're a vegetarian, you want to just go skip ahead 3 or 4 minutes.
Can I skip ahead?
No.
Oh.
Did you know that horse manure was used as an oven in the past? And there are written recipes for this particular one that I was able to find. It comes back from like the 1600s, and it was actually written down this way. If you're interested, this is how to cook a ham in a pile of horse manure, in your manure pile. So the recipe said, clean the ham off of any dirt. Spread a cloth, place thyme, basil, and bay leaves on the cloth, and then wrap the ham. Then pour several glasses of brandy over the ham. The ham would then, I guess that maybe that was for flavor or to kill the whatever, so I don't know. The ham would then be buried in a pile of decomposting horse manure at least 2 feet thick on all sides. So you really want to pack it around the ham.
Just make sure you get that ham just deep down in that pile of poo.
Yes. The natural breakdown of manure, obviously we know, creates heat, which can act like a slow cooker or an oven. You leave your ham in there for 48 hours, you dig it out, you unwrap it, and it did say in the recipe to rinse it before serving, so that's good. But apparently you could cook your ham in a pile of horse manure. It's that hot in there. So there you go.
I'm just going to go right to the next ad. As horse owners, we have an unlimited supply of love for our animals, but we tend to underestimate the cost of their vet care. Routine and unexpected expenses can quickly add up, making it hard to keep pace. Wouldn't it feel great to always be prepared with budget-friendly ways to manage these costs? The Care Credit Health and Animal Care Credit Card can give you that financial peace of mind. With flexible financing from Care Credit, you can get the care your horse needs as well as all the pets in your family, then pay over time in easy monthly payments. You can use Care Credit at more than 25,000 veterinary hospitals that accept the card and use it to pay for everything from diagnostics and surgery to wellness exams and routine care. Care Credit. It's your card for a lifetime of care. Subject to credit approval. To learn more and apply, visit carecredit.com/horses.
Well, that ends Poop Week. We're going to get to some really big... Oh, no, it doesn't. Hang around to the end of the show when we have an inebriated English versus German poop edition to end the show today. So you'll want to hang around after really bad ads for that.
If you ain't met one by now, you're bound to sooner or later. He says one thing and he means another, but hey, he can't help it. He's a horse trader. Horse trading. Well, it's a laissez-faire. Let the buyer beware. Horse trading. They tell a low-down lie with a sincere stare. Horse trading. Well, if they're talking in circles and the deal ain't square, he's a master in the fine art of persuading. Horse trading.
It is the time of the week when we do some really bad ads. Listeners submit ads from Craigslist or Facebook, and we just have a little bit of fun with them. I do not have the prizes yet for this month. Hopefully we'll have those by next week. I will let you know. And let's just get right into the ads. We don't always have time to get to them all, so thank you to Lindsay, to Aaron, to Jane, to Kaylee, to Janelle, and to Susanna. You're all in for the drawing, and everybody that submitted will be in for the drawing for this month. And you have the first one.
All right, Amy sent this one in. This looks like a Facebook page where Jennifer has removed what page it is. Stop doing that. I like to know where they come from. Looking for an Arab/Arab cross or any grays for a 4-H horse for a 10-year-old. Solid walk trot needs some work on Solid walk trot needs some work on center is fine. I don't want the letter U, the letter R, quote, is a great kid's horse because it's crippled. Quote, could be a good kid's horse, but it's been sitting for years. Quote, was sat on by my grandkids and didn't buck them off.
This person's been listening to our ads for the last 10 years.
Yep. I'm looking for a sane sound kid horse. Let me see what you got.
These are all the quotes right there that we've said over and over and over again. Caitlin sent this one in, and apparently it's in New Hampshire. I'm selling my horse Bradle for $80 at blank stables in Claremont, New Hampshire. I can send pic if you want it. Brain new, only use it once.
You gave them way too much credit because there are way more misspelled words in there.
But maybe if they had posted a picture, you wouldn't have to send it to them. Just saying. Your Bradle.
A horse Bradley for $80 in Claremont that's bad. That's just a bad ad.
Yep,
how about that?
Bad ad.
Aaron,
we don't often get them from New Hampshire either, so that's a surprise.
Roscoe is a Rocky Mountain pony gelding at 14.1 HH and big-bodied. He carts kids around and also carried my husband on a nice trail ride. Anyone, and I mean it when I say this, anyone can ride him. He's safe, he's sane, he's traffic and water safe. He's not spooky. He has great feed, easy keeper, lives on pasture. I love this large pony. He's around 16 to 17 years old and has vaccines. He's safe, and you can sip a beer with one hand and neck rein with the other. You won't find a more pleasurable man out there. Again, you must PM me for videos and info, not comment on this post. Mid XXXX and worth every bit of it. Why are you selling them then?
The beer thing appears in 50% of the ads. You know what? This one up above, if they would consider something other than an Arab, it'd be perfect.
He's
kid safe. It's very safe.
Not great though. Yeah.
Charlotte sent this one in. Rare Steuben Survival. 18-inch. Is that the name of one of their saddles?
Steuben Survival? I didn't know that. Okay,
18-inch, 32 centimeter. Meet the Steuben Survival. This saddle is sporting a bit of patina. It has plenty more long, tough days in it, and with a huge knee blocks and multiple rings, it is up for whatever weird adventures you have ahead. I bought this with the plans of sacking out beers. Here we go again. I bought this with the plans of sacking out beers on my conditioning rides, but alas, my pony is too fat. And my ass is too small. Every time I look at this classic, it reminds me of the jeans from 5 years ago that I'm keeping around just in case. But please buy this. Please. I will ship it to you if you're nice to me, and I'll even throw in a bad drawing of your horse. And there's a picture of a very, very well-used Steuben saddle with a very pink saddle pad.
Well, the Steuben Survival is a brand of Steuben.
It is.
Is it kind of Steuben? Yeah, I mean,
apparently it survived.
It's 150 years old, and it will survive.
Do you see the knee pads? This is a well-used saddle. The knee pads are totally worn out. I mean,
there's spaces on the saddle that have been rubbed tan, and it's a dark leather saddle. Janelle sent. Oh wait, is it Janelle or
I think we're missing
Chantel?
Chantel.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Chantel. What ad is this one, I wonder? It's a horse that it looks like one of those like equine.com or something like that.
Know.
Because the ad, all it says, this is in Minot, North Dakota. Why not Minot? Gelding for sale, call Dan with any questions, and gives you the phone number. And the photo is, the head is completely cut off of this horse. The mane on this horse is half gone because it's rubbed out, and the horse is down eating, and all you can see is the body of the horse, but it's being photobombed by another black horse with a pink halter on it. Just call Dan, because I have questions.
We have a lot of questions, Dan. We have a lot of questions.
I have questions.
Dan, do you realize this isn't like the old newspaper days? You can put more words on ads now.
You can put more words. They don't charge you for words. They don't charge you for pictures, nothing. You can just put it all in there.
You can put the whole picture of the horse's head, too.
I mean, my God, let's just get crazy.
Last one today. Faye sent this one in. A couple of good horses and a trailer. It has AC heat. Black one is a 5. Wait a minute. Let me start over because my mind did not comprehend that at all.
You're reading it exactly as it's
written. I know, but I'm not. A couple good horses and trailer. It has AC heat. Black one is a 5 event. Horse. Consistent. Low. 16S on the barrels. The other one is well-started 5 event, just haven't started pushing him yet. Both level-headed and ride very good getting out of the horses. 7, comma. Carrots for the black one, 5, comma. Carrot on the other one, and 4, comma. On the trailer, both are around 15.1. I haven't put a stick on them. Lenox, Georgia. Oh, I didn't even see it was Georgia. Lenox, Georgia. I
don't even know what they're selling.
Mixing the trailer in with the horses got very confusing. That's like, I don't know. Like, do the horses have AC and heat? I'm so confused.
By the way, I would like to let them know that if their comma button works, they might could try the period button.
Comma button worked very well.
Comma's really good. Strong.
I should have gave you this one, though. I didn't even notice it was Georgia until the end because I don't know if you could have even done it in Southern accent. It's so confusing. It would have made it worse.
I would have made it worse.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for sending your ads, and you send them to Jennifer at horseradionetwork.com. Get them in for next week. We really do appreciate you doing that. And we're going to end Poop Week. By the way, thank you for putting up with us for Poop Week. Me especially.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
So we're going to end Poop Week with our closer for the day that Jamie unfortunately sent to me last night after she had been drinking.
By the way, one margarita. One. I mean, everybody else had more, but I had one.
Lightweight.
Sorry. It's tequila. We don't get along.
So this is English version versus German. This is her exchange student named Anna, who is German, and they compare words. And we know it was appropriate that we end the week with poop words, the English versus German style, with a little inebriation thrown in.
In honor of Poop Week, I have brought Anna to the table to discuss words associated with poop. And I'm here with Janet, Electra, and Angie, and we're gonna learn. Say hello, everybody. Hello. Okay, we might have been drinking around the dinner table, but it's fine, whatever. Okay, Anna, say hello.
Hi.
Okay, so let's start with the word worms, because we've been talking about poop a lot. Worms.
Würmer.
Okay, how about pile of manure?
Pferdeäpfel.
Say that again.
Pferdeäpfel.
That sounds so beautiful.
Better than pile of manure.
How about the word diarrhea?
Durchfall.
When we're cleaning the stalls, we use a pitchfork or a
Mistgabel.
And when I use my pitchfork, I'm going to pick up the manure and put it in a manure bucket.
Kuhfladeneimer.
And then we clean it all up with the wheelbarrow.
Schubkarre.
You gotta say that again. What?
Schubkarre.